Yo crecí en una cultura que me enseñó todo lo malo sobre ser un líder, sobre ser un padre. Pero luego en mi vida yo aprendí que había mejores maneras. Así que quédate con nosotros para que aprendas algunos tips para ser un mejor hombre.
Hello and welcome to the Something New Show. I'm your special guest host, Jordan Linscombe, and I'm really excited we have Dr. Jorge Suarez with us here in the studio today to jump into the topic of leadership and integrity for men and for marriage. So Jorge, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Jordan. It is such a joy to be here with you, and I love the passion when you mention my name.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is a good Spanish speaker, I can tell.
Well, Mindy and I love that our life journey has helped us learn Spanish along the way.
That's awesome.
Jorge is originally from the Dominican Republic. We're going to dive into that more. Such a fun country, such a fun culture. So when I see you, it's que lo que, like how we doing, right? So
listen, if you say que lo que, that means you know the culture.
Yes, sir.
That's very safe exclusively for people who have been a part of it.
Que lo que, como tú estás, you know.
Que lo que hay.
Exactly. Well, it's great to have you on the show today. We're going to dive into a great conversation. I'm so honored to have you here today. For those of you where Jorge is new to you, you've got to know about this incredible man and his track record of what he's doing to make a positive impact on so many other men, as well as marriages. And so if you haven't, check out the episode that Mindy did with his wife, Danisa Suarez, because they work together in a powerful way. But let's learn about Jorge. Jorge received his doctorate in pastoral counseling from Liberty University, graduating with highest distinction. That was in 2023, correct?
Right. That was one of those things, Jordan, that you wake up one day and you realize there's something missing and God is leading, and you have to just obey. And I called Liberty and register. It was like somebody poked me. Is this really happening with our already so extremely busy lives and the counseling center running, speaking appearances and TV shows? I mean, what else can I add to my load, right? But I'm so glad because time went by, and I look back now. It's been a year. It's like I just can't believe it happened.
Yeah. Well, congratulations
and I'm done with
on
it.
that.
Thank you.
No, it's an incredible journey. It was fun to see you work through that and make that huge achievement. So he's got his doctorate in counseling. In the day-to-day, the month-to-month, you and Danisa have been doing counseling. We're going to hear more about that.
Right.
And the work that you do, impacting lives. He's got a passion for leadership, to help men with personal integrity, marital health, and he's also certified in Sexual Recovery Pastoral Counseling, and does Marital Clinical Therapy, and has worked with the Gottman Institute. But he and his wife, Danisa, are a powerhouse team. They work together with couples or with individuals that want to receive counseling. He's got also a degree in psychology from Trinity International University in Florida, where he graduated summa cum laude. He's also a professional mental health coach through the American Association of Christian Counselors. And it's just an honor to have you here on the show today. You're a father, you're a husband, and just an exceptional person in our community. You're a great vocalist, by the way, too.
Oh,
and
my
so
gosh.
some of you may know.
You are unwrapping all my my hidden things here.
That's right. But if the Suarezes are new to you, you also need to be aware that in the Spanish-speaking community, they're a big deal, and they've had favor with getting on TBN in Spanish, Univision, other television spots on a variety of networks in a variety of directions. So congratulations to you guys on how you've helped bring a message of health and of healing to so many people through so many beautiful avenues. So great to have you here on the show today. As we jump into it, we want to talk about leadership. We want to talk about how men can be the best that they can be as a man or if they're married. But let's just jump in. If you could just unpack for our audience a bit of your story and tell us, where did Jorge's life begin and what are some of the things that shaped you when it came to seeing examples of leadership?
Well, I mean, as all of us, I think we grew up in an environment that really helped us with the shaping and adopting some of our own ideas or thoughts of how great leadership should be like or should look like. And we take it from our parents. I mean, everybody has parents, right? You might not have biological parents, but you grew up in an environment where some people was actually taking the role of your mentor or your guide or whatever you want to call it. So I remember back in the days when I was a younger kid, My parents went through some separation, a divorce actually, and me being the youngest of three boys, I was very sensitive to that because I did not see them connect. My family turned out to be very dysfunctional, as well as my wife. So when we come to church at 15, we said, we're not going to repeat this story. I think we want something different, something better, something more catering towards health. And that's what we found, that in Christ, you can make a difference and you can build upon the rock. You can build something different. But back in the days growing up, I remember my dad being very strict. He was a military. He had expectations. So he decided that I was going to become a civil engineer. And go figure.
He had a pretty significant role in the military, is that correct?
Oh, yeah. He had a very high profile, very high position, a lot of influence in the country. It's a small island. So Suarez, wearing that last name was a big deal. However, when it comes to, although he was an amazing provider, he also had those great expectations over what he wanted each one of us children to be professionally. So he insisted that I should be a civil engineer because I always got A plus grades and, brilliant student according to his description. But then I came to church and I met the Lord at 15. At this time, I really received direction of what my future would be like and what my involvement would be in life. And then music became like my go-to, the best way that I could express not only the message, but also my emotions, my feelings, and communicate with an audience. So singing was my main instrument, my vocal. I studied privately, voice lessons. I had some piano from, since I was growing up, since I was a little kid. He paid for piano lessons. He chose to give everything he could to all of his kids. I chose piano, and then eventually voice became my main instrument. And we saw God open doors. I participated in a voice festival. They were looking for new talent within the Christian arena in the country. And my music director back in those days, he registered me. And without even me knowing, he said, yes, you're going to be a part of that. I said, I cannot sing. Are you out of your mind? How am I going to do that? Because I don't think I had a good voice.
So you were voluntold to do it?
Yes, essentially. My pastor had already given me the opportunity to lead worship because there was nobody else who could do it. So I took on the task, and I was doing okay. But then eventually I participated in that festival, ended up getting the second prize, which was actually to record one of those 45 small LPs. How do you call those? The 45?
Like a CD?
Or a small LP. Yeah, the vinyl.
Album?
The vinyl.
Small vinyl? Okay.
Yeah. It was supposed to be for the first prize only, both sides.
Oh, wow.
But then because, I don't know, God was in the middle of that, they decided, no, we're going to do side B to the second prize this year only.
Nice.
And that was me. So my song became a hit nationally, and I was one of the most demanded voices eventually. I didn't even know how that started. I did not choose this. I had received some confirmation through some brothers and sisters in the Lord. They saw, they got the vision, they got the prophetic impression, but I did not believe it for myself.
So all of a sudden,
music was the way that God used, I believe, with all my heart, to keep me in track, to keep me focused, to understand maturity and ministry and calling and the impact that I can have, not only with a good and polished vocal instrument, but with a life that is being transformed. And that's where the passion for leadership and integrity started. I think I saw the need. I heard stories from leadership. I saw falling leaders.
Yeah.
I saw falling worship leaders, and everybody, around the industry, we all know of someone, at least that have gone through that hard path. And I said, well, first of all, I don't want to be one of those. And second, I'll do anything in my power to help those that could be struggling or that could go through such, experience. So that's part of the fuel behind my love and passion to protect leadership.
Yeah. And then did you meet Denisa at a church camp or somewhere in those years?
Yes. So we were both the same age, 15, and she went to this summer camp that my church put together. And she lived, she was not supposed to be in that camp. It was just the word got to her, and she came. We became best friends. There was not a like pursuing romantic interest.
There wasn't like
At the
background
beginning,
music the first time you
no,
saw
there
her?
wasn't like fireworks or anything like that. At the beginning, it was just it was simply a very solid friendship.
Yeah.
She became my agent after I won that festival.
Okay.
She was working at radio station with our pastor, so she had all the connections that you can imagine with pastors, big churches, and everywhere. Small churches didn't matter. We went everywhere in that city, and God gave us a lot of favors. So she was my agent officially. From that closeness, then something else happened. We didn't look for it. It was like she wasn't even my type. That's one of those things and I wasn't her type either. So that's one of those miracles that only God can orchestrate and put together. Little do we know that we had one another so close. The blessing was closer to me than I even realized.
It was right there.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then
So y'all knew each other really well then through that collaboration.
right? There's a power of friendship, and I love to recommend people who are, looking for relationships or partnership, romantic partners. Be a friend first. Know one another's heart. Know your intentions, your motivations, your dreams, and dream together. And don't let the desire to have you as mine sabotage the great results that can come out of that vulnerability that you develop as friends.
Yeah, that's good. Mindy and I were friends for over 3 years before we started dating.
You see?
And
That's exactly us.
we had experienced
3 years.
lots of situations, traveling on a volunteer trip together with a whole group, studying abroad. Our parents all had met each other and knew each other. And the same thing, then we had different feelings at different times, but it never matched up. And so then when it cultivated, incubated to the right moment, I realized how much I missed her after she moved away.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It was, and the wisdom in this woman, like, it was so sacred to me. It was so sacred that I thought to myself, that I could never have that. I wish any great man deserved this woman. So that's how much I respected her and how much I saw her gifting and her value. So I didn't think I was worth her in my life.
Yeah.
But God is much gracious than that. And he said, no, I've been saving this for you. So this is your gift. So yeah, eventually we became, started dating. And then we ended up in marriage, of course.
So what year did you get married, or how many years married for you guys?
Right now we're celebrating 35 this year.
Congrats. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
So then walk us through from that season and getting into counseling work. What was a bit of the journey for you and Danisa?
So she knew that she wanted to be a sex therapist since she was like 6 years old. Don't ask me how, but she doesn't know
I've
either.
never heard anybody else say that.
Because there was this influential lady, a doctor, on TV back in the days in the Dominican.
Yeah.
And she always admired her. Wow, how fluent she was in the topic. And not that she was watching the show every night or whatever, but every time she had the opportunity to be exposed to her, well put together, very, very proper with the language, and so wise, so much wisdom in her words, helping people. She just knew something led on her heart, her mind, and it was as if God was preparing her for her future. And so time went by. She got her psychology degree back home in the Dominican Republic. For short, we call it DR.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yes, sir.
And then, she continued pursuing, took a break when the kids were born, eventually got into her master's in psychology, and eventually got into her sex therapy certification.
Yeah.
And then I was just persuaded in a very gracious way. I was fully into my music ministry, traveling around the world, writing and recording my songs everywhere, appearances and concerts and tours, any musician's dream. Eventually, I feel a shift in my spirit where God spoke very clearly, and he said, Jorge, that field that arena is very challenging for a woman to be alone, and I need you to get on board. And that's all he said. We got some prophetic alignment to where this man of God, he said, you guys have been like moving on parallel tracks, and now I'm merging you into one single track.
It's a big moment.
Meaning, like, what does that mean, right? Like, and then she was just doing school at that point for her master's in psychology, so to become an LPC. So it's a combo, man. We have it all.
And let's come back to intimacy because, again, I want to encourage people to watch Mindy and Denise's episode because they unpack some of this, that intimacy really means connection. And it could be myself and my son just having real conversation and asking the questions that really matter in life. But unpack that for us. What does intimacy really mean to you and Denisa?
In short, intimacy is to know you better as a couple. If we're talking about a romantic relationship or partners, is to know you better and to allow you to know me better. That's kind of a simple definition of intimacy. But something important, Jordan, is that intimacy is three-dimensional. Intimacy is not only what most people think is, the sex part. No, it's so much more than that. Intimacy is emotional, is spiritual, and then it can be physical or sexual. So typically when the first two are in alignment, the spiritual and the emotional, then the sexual is going to flow more naturally in a relationship, simply because there's going to be more reception, from especially the wives that are eager to be known, to be seen, to be noticed. So if you're not capable of showing emotional vulnerability as a man, and realizing that being vulnerable doesn't mean that you're weak, that you're simply a stronger leader because you have the ability to own up on things that you need to take ownership and to take responsibility when you have to, or speak in situations that demand a voice of your guide, of your wisdom, of your direction, and not stay silent. And I think that's a big role.
Absolutely.
And that's a big thing that is going to cater towards that intimacy that everybody long for. People die for intimacy. And that's where, in part of the training, obviously, you see guys pursuing sex outside a formal relationship, seeking for experiences because they feel such emptiness, not realizing that everything they need and they will ever need to satisfy that longing is within the marriage. So why look any farther for that if you have it next to you? You just need to learn to explore how to optimize it, how to maximize the opportunities that God gives you on a regular basis.
Yeah. Fatherhood, marriage, there's a couple of different layers. There are different seasons of life for people that are watching. Any more you'd want to share on that idea of vulnerable connection and fatherhood or things in your journey?
Well, I remember, I think it's important to hear this one. It's a small story from when I was growing up. I remember my dad being, dreaming through my eyes, dreaming through my accomplishments and my academic success. I think he wanted to set the pace and the future for me in a way, kind of in a controlling way, I feel. And he decided that I would be a civil engineer. So everybody, I'm art, I am music, I do oil painting. I just love,
you paint as well at home.
Yes,
yeah.
I do all that kind of expression. And I did not see myself measuring landscaping outside with the sun. It just wasn't me. But he was persistent, like, this is what you're going to do. So at the age of 15, I finished high school. So I was very premature, like aware. I was done with high school, 15 years old. Still so young, I didn't even know what I fully wanted to do back then. But I was already in my spiritual journey. I had already met Jesus. And Jesus did make a difference because he set direction for me. As we shared earlier, I knew I was going to be pursuing a ministry that had to do with impacting people, with healing emotions and embracing people wherever they were in their need and providing for those needs from the spiritual perspective. And civil engineering was not going to give me that fulfillment. And I knew it. So I went through some assessment. Denisa was doing psychology, so I was kind of her guinea pig in many other areas, but especially in that one. I took the assessment, the vocational assessment, and surely I score high on the graphic, on the, design and all that kind of stuff. So the artistic in me. So yeah, I stopped my civil engineering journey. My dad became so upset at me. He got the baddest migraine headache. For 3 days, he went to bed. He was so disappointed.
way.
So yeah, and then
It was heavy.
it was really hard for him to. But I knew because God has called me. I'm realizing, God called me to do this, and it has nothing to do with that career. So then I stood firm in my decision, and he stopped paying for college. Imagine, like I wasn't even working. He was a great provider.
Mm-hmm.
He was well set. I mean, God blessed our family financially, and he decided not to pay for my.
Financially cut you off.
And I said, okay, my Heavenly Father will make a way for me. I was that strong in my faith. So every time he resisted, I only grew stronger in my faith. So it was one of those, I'm still honoring you, Dad, but I'm choosing my Heavenly Father's will for my life. Because, earthly fathers, they have a limited vision for what they want, for what they know. But our Heavenly Father knows better, and he knows what's ahead for you. So I have to make a choice, and I think I'm so grateful that I did right.
Yeah.
Eventually, he reconciled, and he said, I should have been more attentive to what you were trying to tell me back then, and I'm so proud of you. So he let go eventually after 7 years, after we got married and everything. So, and from my satisfaction, I think God had to give me that satisfaction when I completed my doctorate program.
Yeah, how was that?
He almost cried. I almost cried just telling him, Dad, look, because he thought we were going to you guys are going to be in church. You're going to miss out on so many great opportunities. You're going to be living out of offerings and people's giving.
You'll be broke.
This is not what we're talking about. God is the God who provides, and people are not our resources. God is our resource, main resource. So,
do you have any wild stories of provision during that time?
My gosh, we saw God. My mom stepped in. He said, I don't care what he's thinking. I'm fully with you. So whatever you're going to do, I'll be there for you. So she became my source, and she paid for school. She paid for private voice lessons.
Wow.
While my dad was in that, phase. And I'm so grateful for my mom. She's a warrior.
So
and
Mama had your back.
She saw the gifting in me, and she said, I support you full force. So I'm for you, and I'm not going to lay you down.
Wow.
So one of those things, I feel though, Jordan, when you fight harder for what you want, you value it more.
Absolutely.
I think the whole mindset of embracing ministry and the responsibility that it entails, even as a young man that I was back then, has given me the passion to protect such kind of investments. Because I know pastors out there, leaders out there, they step into a journey believing that God had probably called them to do that. And sometimes they fail. Why do they fail? What is missing? What has been the key ingredient that they have not tapped into it as a resource for their lives? And that's why I have a passion to protect them and walk with them in this journey.
Yeah, you and Denise are both tenacious. You have tenacity, you're focused, passionate about what you do, and about helping other people. Let's talk more about, so that was on fatherhood and other elements that shaped you, and then how you walked in some different steps, right, as you were a dad and doing your best. When it comes to marriage, you work a lot with couples, but also with men. You lead an intensive or kind of a support group for other men as well, too. Unpack, what are some of the common challenges you see, but then some simple solutions, or step 1, 2, 3, what are you sharing with men as they bring the challenges or opportunities in life your direction?
In general, they have the hardest time sharing their emotions or connecting at an emotional level. We published our first book. We co-wrote together, Denise and I. It's called Divine Sex. It's available everywhere. And we share a graphic to help, an illustration to help people visualize what those two cycles look like, How does a man feel connected at heart level, and then how does a woman look connected? And the first step for the wife is emotional connection. They want to know that you understand them, that you see them, that you get them, that you're listening to them. For the man, it's actually a physical activity. So you get a man, give them something to do, get them to get some energy out, and then eventually, as a second step for the men, they get into that open heart, connectedness, open connectedness at the heart level. And then the woman also goes to phase number two, where they feel that they can open their hearts and they can trust. It's all about safety. But then as a third step for the woman, then they have physical openness. They're ready for you. Anything you ask of them, they're most likely going to be there. For the man, as a last step, then they become emotionally vulnerable and they open to their emotions. So they have wasted all the energy already or used their energy, and now they feel connected. Now they're ready to share. So it's a different process for both male and females. However, knowing these principles, knowing these theories, right, would help you at the time of trying to agree, trying to have a conversation, trying to pursue your wife or persuade her from something that you want to do. You cannot just jump into a conversation without first feeding what they need. If they understand the depth of your motivation at the emotional level, you're going to get so much success in what you're trying to do as a couple even.
Yeah.
So we encourage, I've learned personally in helping men that they have a hard time. It could be rooted in their childhood. Nobody ever encouraged them to be vulnerable. You don't cry. Men don't cry.
What do you say to guys when they say, like, I'm not a crier, I'm not a feeler, when they might be deceiving themselves?
Yeah, you don't have to be a crier. I think you have to get things from your head, allow those things to go down to your heart. And that's one of the easiest way for me to describe when I'm trying to help a guy. Just stop thinking about it. Just stop thinking. Start flowing from a heart level. Because when you're like, and if you don't know, some people are more like in the engineer mindset.
Yeah.
They like steps 1, 2, 3. I don't see it. I don't feel it. I don't process like that. Well, how about if we start learning, right? Emotional intelligence, it's something that you can learn. Like the IQ is different because you're born with a certain set of skills to process and understand things. That's your intellect. But when it comes to the emotional, you can grow into being someone who can be vulnerable, who can be self-aware.
Right.
You learn skills to self-regulate, to know your emotional environment, what's happening around you, what's happening to your wife when she comes asking you for expressing something like, oh, so I just heard from my mom is at the hospital and I'm so concerned for her. I mean, you need to stop and listen to what that woman has to say. So because you could be the case where you just say, oh, I'm so sorry, honey, to hear that. Hey, have you seen my white shirt?
Right.
Like, what a shift is that? Just pause.
Recognize the moment.
Recognize the moment. Acknowledge her pain or her need right there. And stop being so focused about yourself.
What do you tell guys that are very solution-oriented as well, too? Because we've talked through this as a couple.
Yeah.
Where too often people are like, oh, let me fix the problem.
We're fixers. And there's a reason why we're fixers. And that's a God-given skill. I mean, I think we don't want to change that. But we need to realize that sometimes wives, they don't want a solution. They just want a hug. They want to know that they're not alone. So instead of catering for the physical aspect of the issue, cater to their heart, because that's all they need at that moment. They're not asking, can you help me figure this out? Mm-hmm. They might say something like expressing the need, and you just trying to, okay, so let's do something else, or to distract them from that. No, you stay put, stay engaged. Don't play that stonewalling thing that is so detrimental to the relationship. Be engaged and ask open-ended questions. That's a good way to explore or navigate around that lack of connectivity. You just start asking questions that would dig deeper and will help you take the issue or the problem at a deeper level so you can have a better understanding. So open-ended questions are those that are not expecting a yes or no answer. Those are closed questions, very dry, cut and dry. The open-ended questions, on the other hand, they give you access to dig deeper and get some more information that's going to be better for you to understand where they're coming from and even to get more engaged emotionally.
What would you say to husbands that are watching,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's a couple that's dating, they want to move towards a deeper relationship, etc.? What would you say to the men of what it means to really be a leader in their relationship with their wife or their girlfriend? Because the messages out there in the media and culture are so not the goal a lot of times, or do not lead to health for mutually, great relationships. So what would you say to the men, regardless of age, regardless of their season? What does healthy leadership look like in that kind of in a relationship?
I think the first step and the most important is learn the value, the power of humility. Let go of your pride. We're very prideful. We like to boast in the things that we can accomplish, that we have accomplished, that we can do. It's all like tasks. We're very task-oriented. However, humility tells you, okay, so how can you not put yourself in the spotlight and bring that other person in that relationship to the forefront, like bring them closer and put them in the spotlight instead of yourself. I think when God designed marriage, one of the things that he was after was to give us opportunities to die to self, and to focus on the need of your partner before you focus on yours. So he said, you know what? I know a lot of great preachers out there, great leaders preaching every day about, love yourself, love your neighbor and be more giving and all that. It sounds beautiful in the script. But when it comes to the day-to-day, God said, I'm going to give you the opportunity to die to self every single day of your life. So I'm going to create an institution that is going to allow you to do that. And he called it marriage. And in marriage, you can learn the power of dying to self, removing your own agenda, and allowing room for others, including wife, obviously, or even children. Sometimes we have a louder and stronger positive message by showing them that it's not about winning, it's about being a part, playing the game. And our culture has taught us that we need to score. If we're playing, we got to score. It's a big pressure.
Be the MVP, be the all-star.
It's a big pressure.
Yeah.
Even peer pressure. We hear when we go out, everybody's cheering up because you got to score, accomplish, do. When in reality, that's not the whole point in a marriage. You need to learn to play the game, partake, be integrated, be a part, and not be so centered or focused on what you can take away.
Yeah.
So it's like almost dropping your own agenda and give room for others.
Yeah, when I talk with other husbands, we talk a lot about championing Mindy. Now, you and I we have powerhouse fireball wives who are driven. They accomplish a lot. But
I love it.
Yeah, it's
totally
amazing.
love it.
It's a beautiful thing to steward and champion your bride. What have you learned? Because what I've experienced is at times she's really, driven, achieving, doing incredible things, leading a team. And then when she gets vulnerable and emotional, which is normal, it's almost surprising sometimes. Like, she's feeling the feelings and she needs me to respond and connect. But I got to say that sometimes it almost catches me off guard because I'm saying, okay, I'm tired. It's 10:30 at night. We've had a very full powerhouse day. Okay, I know I need to connect and all the things you were just describing 10 minutes ago. What has helped you? Because I imagine you've had similar moments too with Denisa, because it really is sacrificing of saying, okay, my mind, my heart, my emotions are way over here, but I hear my bride being vulnerable in this moment.
Right.
Anything that's helped you?
When you have women so powerful, so strong, you get so used to them being self-sufficient because they enjoy that. And there's nothing, that's not a sin. I think it's a God-given gift in their lives. So you're so used to them taking care of everything and more, because they not only take care of themselves, but they also take great care of us.
Of others, yeah.
Us as husbands, right?
Yes.
So when they hit that place of I cannot do this anymore, or they're thinking that they can't, then I go immediately to how can I be a reminder, but not in telling her what she needs to do or how to handle that. Instead, I give her space and I become available. What can I do to help you right now? Is there anything I can do? Instead of trying to provide a solution. Because at that moment, they most likely know what to do.
Yeah. But they want someone
Because they're
to
like
listen.
brilliant. They just think
Yeah.
so clearly. They just want to know that they're vulnerable and human, and they don't have to be strong all the time.
Yeah.
So
Be
if you
heard
can
and seen.
understand that and be there, stay put, stay engaged. Don't leave them alone at that moment, because they don't want to know that they're going through life without your support. I think it's our role to remind them that they're not alone and that we're here for anything they need,
That's
instead of
good.
providing a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk a lot about, hey, honey, do you want a listening ear or do you want a solution?
Yeah.
And just putting words to that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's a listening ear, right?
Most times, I think
Yeah.
that would, or just a hug.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
go close to her and hug her tight, and remind them that they're not alone. That they have witnesses to their lives.
Yeah. Be heard, be seen. And we all experience that, male or female, different moments of life.
And
on the journey.
validating where they are is not, I think it's also appropriate. You can validate, acknowledge that you see, that you understand,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that you're feeling. You try to show empathy where they are.
Yeah.
And I think that adds a lot of value to them.
As we wrap up in a few minutes, I want to hear what has helped you mentally and with your identity as a man. Because so you grew up in the DR. Let's call it out. There's a lot of culture of machismo.
Big time.
There's some brokenness in perspective of manhood, if I may say. I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
I have some great friends there. Love the
Absolutely
island.
right.
However, what have you learned, or what are confessions or professions you say in your mind or even out loud that help you stay on track with the core beliefs of what you have learned to be a godly man, to be a righteous man, to be a man that champions your wife, and as a leader, what helps you in that journey? Because there's so many lies, there's so many distractions, messages, self-doubt. Everyone experiences these things. What has helped you?
Well, the macho culture, machismo, it teaches that as a man, you have the voice, the final voice to decide, to choose. You can have multiple partners, it doesn't matter. It's actually celebrating those cultures, to have different women here and there, and you are capable of providing for them all. So that's like a very self-centered and self-seeking and self-gratifying approach, because it gives you a false sense of power. But I saw very closely what the damage that does to the structure of a family. And I said to myself, I'm not going to duplicate this. This is not what I want for my future. I lived through it. I experienced the pain, the tears, the dysfunctionality of that system. And I just stood up in what I found in the Bible as the guide, as the ultimate menu. If you're ever wondering, how can I learn to be a better leader, better dad, better father, better husband, go to the manual. You're going to find it all there. So I stuck to that, and I learned God's word. I want to say I was faithful in fulfilling what I was learning in living according to those principles. It's not about emotions; it's about principles. So you can be you can think that, okay, I'm going to do something because I feel like it. So you have to remove some of those old thoughts, replace some with new things that you learn in that manual, and then start implementing. So that's exactly what I did. I'm not going to repeat what I learned from my father in that way. I'm going to become a better version of it, and I want to be a father who honors God, that is fearing God with my decisions and my choices. Yeah. So yeah, I chose marriage, and I chose faithfulness, and I chose to be a responsible father in training my kids as best as I could.
Yeah. So on the Something New show, we talk about creating a life worth celebrating. And what you just described are, in my view, those are goals. And so a lot of the culture is like, hey, this is what it means, have this car, these women, these accomplishments. But what you just unpacked leads to life, leads to fulfillment. So what else would you say or challenge husbands with that are watching, of like, what does it mean to live a life worth celebrating as a leader, as a man, with all the different aspects of life? Any other final thoughts for us?
I think you need to learn the power of being an initiator. Like whatever you see, you learn. Say you go to a conference, a marriage conference, and they give you some tips or whatever. I know many guys out there, they just need to write it down to remember and stuff like that. But stick to one or two things that you're going to be consistent at and put into practice regularly, weekly. Mm-hmm. Stick to one thing a week, even as a starter. You know what? I'm going to show more love to my wife this week. How can I show love to her? Explore her love languages. It's as simple as that. And start feeding that woman in a way that she's going to actually read it as love. Not the way you feel or think that she's going to be loved, but the way you know for sure that she's going to appreciate that love. So stick to that. Be an initiator. Don't, I think breaking the Adam syndrome is what I call Adam. I believe that he was standing next to Eve at the Garden of Eve, and then he was there, and he didn't do a thing when he could have changed the course of humanity altogether.
And be more proactive.
Yes, just speak when you have to speak, silence when you have to silence, but most likely speak, because we're very easy to just shut up and don't say a thing, not say a thing when our voice is needed. So play actively, be more proactive in that.
Because what have you seen of like the perils of being reactive versus proactive? And we'll stay in this line of thought, but that's the temptation for a lot of people. Oh, my wife's got this, or she's doing her thing, or the kids are good. And then so many men are just reactive and it's too late.
It's Adam syndrome is what I call. Garden of Eden. He was there. He could have spoken. He could have been more influential over his wife, and he chose not to. The Bible doesn't say they were separate. Actually, he partook of the apple. He took a bite as well. So he was right next to her, but he chose not to do anything. And I think it's a syndrome that we have to fight as males. We don't like to take action. We don't like to initiate. We think for some reason that we cannot be romantic, that we cannot take our wife on dates even after years of marriage. I think you can continue to contribute to the spark, to the fireworks that you want to experience yourself.
Yeah.
So the wife is not the only responsible. I think we as husbands, have a big role in keeping the flame alive, and not only a role, but a calling from God. Mm-hmm. You know, that fire and that sex drive that we have as male, I think that should be put into good use. And the best way that I can illustrate is how Christ pursued the bride, the church, with such passion. That's why we have that drive as males, because we have the ability to change our lives for better. And we have the ability to spark that fire in our relationship, because God has given us that gift, and that gift needs to be put to use in a good way.
Yeah, holistic connection, holistic intimacy.
Correct.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, practical tips for husbands who are wanting to be more romantic, and we're wrapping up soon. But like, any life hacks or things for guys who maybe they've lost ideas or creativity to help their wife, even if they're out in town or restaurants. Any things you do that just help your relationship stay next level?
I love your questions. How do you bring it up to the next level? Well, you're going to learn to listen to your wife more. Stop talking so much. Just listen, pay attention. Make her feel like they are the last woman on earth. Make them feel so special. Give them your full attention. Don't compromise moments that they have been longing, perhaps, to be with you. Don't feel that by doing things you are fulfilling her, because we also feel like we have this power of I'm gonna be so good to my wife. I'm gonna do everything that she's asked me from the to-do list. But somebody they don't want tasks. They want heart. They want to know that you're there for them. They want to know that you love them. They want to be reminded of how it felt like when you were dating. So try to relive some of those experiences from your dating times and pursue them. And if you have to go all the way to the moon, then go up to the moon and get the star and get the star down for them. I think, of course, that's kind of an exaggeration, but I think you guys are getting the message. It's just go out of your ways, out of your comfort zone, to be present, to be engaged, to show what you're made of. I think there's a lot more that you can do with your own life, with your own emotions. There's so much more that you can do to express the love that you feel for that woman and not be afraid or not feel intimidated that it's not going to be received well by them. I think that's a fear that many men face, even through counseling. They feel that intimidation. What if I am rejected? What if they don't take it? What if they respond like the last time I tried? Well, keep on trying, keep on loving, because love conquers all.
Yeah, amazing. Hey, so clarify for everyone, if they are interested in they just want to know your story. So counseling, you guys think month to month you have things that happen here in Colorado Springs. And then after that, tell us a little bit about some of the expanded work that's going to happen in the Dominican. So you guys travel, you speak at conferences, you do TV and other elements and spots. But when it comes to like the office work, if you will, just share a little bit about what's been going on in Colorado Springs and what's expanding to the DR with you and Danisa.
Our approach is unique. Is couple-to-couple counseling, which is husband and wife, working with husband and wife. Couples typically travel from all over the world. They come see us for a minimum of 15 hours. So we start, and they come. We provide a couple assessments that they do, one before they show up to our office, so we know like the blueprint of the relationship, the status. We know things that they have not even told us because we haven't spent that much time together previous to our intensive clinic is what we call it, intensive clinic. So we learn the status of the relationship ahead of time. We get well prepared for their arrival, and then we start digging deeper. Once they're there, within that closed circuit, they cannot run away.
Yeah.
So the beauty of the intensive approach, Jordan, is that, sometimes when you do week-to-week counseling, you grow desperate or you grow weary because you don't see much progress.
It can lose the momentum.
You can lose the momentum. You can lose the hope. And when you embark this in an intensive, it's almost like a designed retreat to the two of you. Then it caters for a lot of healing, a lot of deep conversations. We give them a lot of exercises, hands-on, and we're mentoring, supervising what they're doing. We're coaching, we're giving strategies. They walk out of there with a plan of action of 1 to 3, probably 2 to 3 pages worth of everything that we touch on during the intensive clinic. And then we do 30, 60, 90-day follow-ups together to make sure that there's an accountability and also that there's progress, or make proper adjustments in the assignments that we leave them. So we've seen miracles. We have a very high rate of success in our clinic. We have, I dare to say, about 94% of success we've seen of changes and miracles in that office.
Yeah. I love it. That's real life impact.
And we're expanding in the DR and in the Dominican Republic. We already have our place there. So we're very excited because now we're going to offer that as a choice, because we go to different cities according to the couple. Some high profiles out there, they prefer not to fly to us just to protect their names and their confidentiality and all that. So we would fly to them. And in this case, we have the Dominican Republic office is ready to flow, is ready to go. And then we're adding a bonus with a beach condo in Punta Cana to make it appealing. So we do the work first, and then you can go spend a few extra days in Punta Cana at the beach, all-inclusive, whatever. And I think it's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, so total package, and that's coming soon. Is that within the next year? Or?
The office is ready in the capital city in Santo Domingo, but the beach condo is coming probably a year from now.
So again,
it's in the building right now.
If someone's in the DR, or even if they want to travel there and meet you there, they could receive couples counseling,
Right.
and then also enjoy the fuller package to be in Punta Cana in a beautiful
right
place
now
afterwards.
they can go
Yeah.
on their own to Punta Cana. We
Yeah.
can connect them with transportation and all that.
Yeah.
When we open our beach condo, then that's still in Punta Cana.
Yeah.
Very exclusive area, and then that's going to be part of the package that we can offer them. So
Yeah.
we're very excited about that.
Absolutely. That's going to be amazing. Hey, we'd be remiss if we don't mention as well, in your doctoral work, one final tool to mention is you developed not only a thesis, but also a practical tool to help leaders, one, keep an eye on burnout before it fully happens, as well as be proactive to avoid moral failure.
Correct.
You dove deep into this work. Tell us about that as we wrap up today.
Yeah, that was pretty funny the way everything started, Jordan, because I went into this doctorate program without realizing what I was going to end up doing and the value of this project and what God is doing with this project, with this tool. So I designed a multi-level psychological assessment that would measure the emotional, relational, spiritual, and sexual health on leaders or anybody interested. We're creating facilitators type of approach so that you can become an overseer of a certain area in the U.S. or internationally. It's going to be available in both languages, obviously. We're partnering with a very respected and very large institution that is showed interest, and we're going to launch this assessment very soon and make it available to churches, any organization, or even mainstream organizations that are proactive in protecting leadership integrity.
Yeah, that's powerful.
I know. I'm so excited about that.
Well, congratulations on that work. If people want to know more about you, Jorge, and Denisa and your work, where could they find you?
Absolutely. Well, they can visit our social medias everywhere now. So my social media, my Instagram account is Jorge Suarez Oficial.
And how do you spell oficial?
Oficial is one F. So Oficial, O-F-I-C-I-A-L.
So Jorge Suarez
Oficial
on Instagram.
On Instagram, and then Facebook also, all social media. But also they can visit our website. It's www.ccicounseling.com.
Okay.
So ccicounseling.com. If you want it in Spanish, you can also find it. cciconsejeria.com.
Because when people get to heaven one day, what language is going to be spoken?
Spanish.
Really? In
No
Dominican
doubt.
Spanish?
And especially Dominican Spanish. ¿Qué es lo que hay?
Which is its own
¿Qué es lo que,
version.
muchacho? ¿Qué es lo que pasa?
Well, we have a little tradition to do a cheers on the show.
Let's
It's
do
amazing to have you here. Gracias, hermano, por estar con nosotros. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Jorge.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Hey, pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for diving into leadership and what it means. And that's part of creating a life worth celebrating. So we would love for you to spread the word, share, like, subscribe, tell a friend, tell another man or couple that would benefit and find value in the great stuff that Dr. Jorge Suarez shared with us today here on the Something New show. Cheers. We'll see you next time.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, review, and share with a friend. Also, follow The Something New Show on Instagram and Facebook. If you want a fuller experience, watch the show on YouTube to help you create a life worth celebrating.